Thank you. I appreciate that, Mark, and hopefully get to 60%.
60%.
That would be good.
I never expect to get beyond 50. So.
All right. Well, it's the second time. All right, folks. So this is not an AI 101 presentation. So let me just be super clear. Hopefully you're already somewhat familiar with AI, maybe already using it somewhat at your company. My goal is to help you figure out how to use it most effectively, how to get a return on your investment of your time and your money into AI. That's the goal for today's presentation. So we will not be going through AI 101. We'll be going through AI 201 and 301. So we'll talk about both of those, and I'll go in much more depth about what that means. Now, this presentation is meant to help you. My goal is not to just go through the whole presentation and just spew a lot of content at you. My goal is to help you answer your questions. My goal is to help you adapt AI to your needs, to your company. That's the goal. So ask me any questions at any time. Stop. We'll go through it. I'll be happy to show you stuff on the back end of AI. So take your time. Don't worry about it. I have 7 case studies that I have developed. Last time, I think we were here yesterday, went for about 3 or 4 of them. That should give you an idea that I'm not committed to going through them. If you have less questions, I'll go for more. If you have more questions, I'll go for less. So it just depends on you and what you need. Sounds good?
Yep, sounds good.
All right. Now, why is you got the title, How to Use Generative AI to Seize the Future, but the subtitle is Stop Overpaying for AI, how you can slash vendor costs while boosting engagement and innovation. Why is it titled this way? Well, for companies that are the size of Vistage members, small, medium-sized enterprises, there are 3 big problems I see when they actually try to adopt AI. One is costs. So I'm thinking about vendors that provide AI services. Let me share an example. I was meeting with a company about 9 months ago, and they were already at what I would call stage 2 AI adoption, starting stage 2, where they had already adopted AI initially in their company, and they got some vendors to provide them with services, AI-related services. They provide expertise on their content. So they provide IT, they provide consulting services, they provide membership fees, so people pay the membership fees in order to get access to their expertise. And so that's the kind of company it is. Now, what they have on their website is an AI chatbot, a pretty smart AI chatbot. It's not an AI chatbot that is just, you say this thing and it says, which of these 5 options do you want to pick? It goes down the menu. It's actually intelligent. It's trained on a large language model, and it's fine-tuned on that company's content. Does anyone know the concept of fine-tuning, besides Mark, because he learned it yesterday? Well, you might have known it before. Fine-tuning. Great, so about half of you know it. So fine-tuning, what does that mean? So you have large language models that are trained on the whole of the internet plus other data, proprietary data. That's what you use when you use Anthropic Claude or Google Gemini or OpenAI's ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, and so on. That is not trained on your specific data. When you fine-tune a model, that means that you train it on your specific data. It is specific data that, and we'll be talking about how you can actually do that. So you train it on your specific data, to reference your specific data, and you give it instructions on how to respond. So this is what they had on their website. It was trained on their IP and was responding. And it was both a customer support tool and a marketing tool. If you didn't sign into their website, if you just went on their website, you didn't log into the user information, it gave answers, but they weren't as full and rich answers. Now, it gave smarter answers and fuller answers and richer answers if you signed onto their website. And they really loved this model. They were getting value from it. They were recommending it to other companies in their industry. So it was really helpful for them. So it was provided by this outside vendor who I won't name. Now, how much do you think it costs them per year? And this is a 5-year contract. How much would you think somebody should pay for that?
If it is a SaaS model, then it's cheaper.
Hmm?
If it is a SaaS model, software as a service model,
Yeah.
it might be a cheaper one.
So how much do you think they paid per year?
You know, it depends how big is the, the, the data content, and if it is specifically to be fine tuned for the company's perspective. Because it's an interesting.
Just give me a number.
100,000.
100
Less than that.
Huh?
Less than that.
How much do you think?
Yeah, maybe $80,000, $90,000.
Cost of one employee.
Hmm?
Cost of
Yeah,
one
cost of an
employee.
employee.
Yeah, cost of them. So $50,000 per year. $50,000 per year for 5 years. So when I heard that, I was pretty shocked because that's a tool that I could have built for them for $5,000 with some sweat equity on their part. Could have built it for $10,000 with a one-time fee without any sweat equity on their part. And they didn't need to hire me. They could have figured it out if they just put in some sweat equity, time, and energy. So and they were getting value from it. They were happy with it, recommending it to others. And they were paying $50,000. So they still, unfortunately, have 2 years in their contract left, but then I'm working on the next model, which will be more advanced and will cost them much less.
Yeah, and I gotta think any type of contract right now with AI is very risky. It's just the growth of everything. Like 4 years ago, I would say there's no way that I'd be able to build something like that now. That's no problem.
Yeah. So you can see a similar model on my website, disasteravoidanceexperts.com. We have a chatbot that's exactly kind of that idea. It's trained on our IP, and it's providing that effort. So it took me about, what is that? Was it a week and a half to build it? Something like that, I think. Yeah.
It was like a week and a half. It was maybe like 15, 20 hours.
Yeah. Something like that. So to build that tool.
So I agree. I don't need to dispute this, but it all depends upon how technical expertise you have to design the model. Unless you are very easier with the programming part of it.
So it doesn't require much programming. It's natural language programming.
Okay.
So it's natural language programming, and I'll show you in the back end. So it's basically a combination of natural language programming and the right knowledge base.
Yes.
So there's nothing, you don't need any coding knowledge. So when you think about these models, we're getting here into the construction of these models. Too many companies, SMEs especially, think about this as an IT problem. They think about AI adoption as an IT issue. That is the wrong mindset. This is not IT. The no-code, low-code tools that I'll talk about are tools like Excel. You should think about the same mindset as Excel or something like Photoshop. This is not something for IT to just be the leader and be all and end all. This is not like a CRM, like a Salesforce. Mark was talking about adopting Salesforce. Yeah, sure, IT should take the lead in that. But when you're using no-code, low-code tools, these are tools that anyone can learn if they can learn Excel, or if they can learn Photoshop, if they can learn how to use PowerPoint. These are a different set of tools, a different category of tools. So they're not software that's complex, that's deterministic, that's top-down. This is software that's probabilistic, that needs to be adapted to each individual process, like each individual employee needs to adapt Excel to their own context. They need to adopt Photoshop, they need to adopt whether they're using Canva, word processing to their own individual context. And so AI, no-code, low-code tools, which is what I'll focus on, is something that people can learn and should learn, and you should help them learn.
Okay.
So this is what we're focusing on. And this is why the second part of this presentation content is about boosting engagement. People are scared of AI tools. There was a recent Pew Research survey that showed that of all respondents, something like 50% were more anxious than excited about AI usage. And then 10% were more excited than anxious, and 40% were equally anxious and excited. That means half of your employees are going to be more anxious than excited, and they have reason to be. AI is already replacing jobs. We see that very clearly. For junior people, they have less opportunities than they did before. We have seen growing unemployment among junior folks. So definitely there's reason to be afraid, and people are afraid. And so the key is to address their fears, especially because AI needs to be super adapted to each individual context. to each individual work process, the workflows. It can't be like Salesforce CRM that you adopt and that everyone uses in a standard way. It needs to be customized to each individual person. So engagement is much more important than it was for previous technologies. But it's also more difficult to get to because people are anxious. So we'll talk about how to boost engagement. And the final issue is innovation. So when I talk about innovation, I don't mean corporate jargon of any sort. I'm talking about very clearly something that's either more efficient or more effective. More efficient meaning using less resources to do the same thing as before. More effective means using the same resources to do more things or things more effectively with a bigger impact. And of course, you can also do both. So when you're thinking about AI deployment, any process of deployment should be either more efficient or more effective, or both. And so those are the kind of KPIs, key performance indicators, you should be thinking about when adopting AI tools and when encouraging your employees to use AI. So that's the shape of the presentation. That's what I'll talk about. That's why it's named this. Questions about it?
A thought of mine that's just come up, and again, I'm sometimes way out on the left or the right, if you want to grade it, but does it make sense going in the future? You know, I'm an employee of a big company, right? I'm not a leader, I'm not an executive, but should I have my own personal chat box on the side?
Chatbot on the side of the
Or
company?
AI outside that's mine.
Oh, like a personal one? Yeah, absolutely.
Helping me facilitate my whatever I'm doing more efficient and effective.
Okay, so you mean for your work?
For my work, that's mine. You know, I might move on from this company in 5 or 10 years. But should I start developing with a coach like you a tool that I invest in, $5,000 a year, to make me more effective, efficient, productive in my day job, probably also in my life?
Right. So you want to be careful about what kind of information you bring from your company into your tool. So it depends on the policies of your company.
Yeah. Well, I go back, right? I'm a big billion-dollar company. They're going to say hard no. I
Right.
wouldn't ask for permission, right? I already know the answer, right? But as I listen to you and I say, how can I get more juice out of the squeeze? Is this something that a blind spot that I should be focused on, right? And it makes me, instead of selling 4 million last year, I could do 8 million, right?
So okay, so this is a tricky question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When you're going to be thinking within a large corporation, you don't want the data of the corporation to be exfiltrated and trained on elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so any corporation, any business should not have a policy of allowing their employees to have a separate tool where they put in work data.
Understand.
Now, what you do on your own time and at your own risk is what's called shadow IT usage.
Okay.
And shadow AI usage, if you don't have a permissive policy for your AI usage, lots of people are already doing it at your company. I can guarantee that. I see that all the time.
Yeah.
So it's called shadow AI usage. Now, what I definitely recommend for any employee is to have a separate account, a personal account that they pay for, and that they can bring in information that doesn't have personally identifiable information from their work, but that they can certainly perform work tasks in if they find it relevant, or if there's like a side hustle situation or something like that, or if they want to use it for their personal life. But otherwise, you want to keep the thing that's proprietary, the proprietary information in your company, because if you're caught doing that, there's definitely potential for trouble.
That was a good thing to bring up. That was a really good thing to bring up.
You know, I think it's a great idea, because I think now that I think about the previous companies that I've worked at, that I've helped implement like accounting schedules and balance sheet reconciliations. I'm like, man, if I had what I created at the other place, I could bring that to where I'm at, right? All these, not necessarily, databases.
No.
Just something that you help create.
Yeah.
Companies now it has been using.
Yeah.
And you grab that and you bring it to the next company.
Yeah.
Right. So I can't agree more.
Yeah.
So you can bring, there are certain things that you can bring, which is your knowledge and expertise of how to create this sort of tool. But any tool that you create for one company is not going to be, with AI, is not going to be perfectly suited for another company. You bring your expertise and knowledge to another company. And you say, this is part of my portfolio of previous work that I did. All right. If no questions, let's check out the first case study. And I'll start with a case study that's not typically associated with AI, roofers. So roofers, if you think of who adopts AI, roofing is not going to be at the top of your list of AI adoption. But this is a tool that's quite valuable for roofers that resulted in a roofing company in Ohio within 6 months getting 30% more sales and 25% higher sales, amounts of money per sale. So what is this? It's a sales assistant. So when you think of a roofer, what does the roofer do when there's a hailstorm and there's damage to your roof, or maybe a tree fell on your roof or something like that? You call a roofer, several roofers, and they come out and they take a look at the roof and they give you a quote. And then you have to go to your insurance company and file a claim. And you get the money, you give it to the roofer fixes the roof. That's kind of the process. Now, if you think of actually filing a claim, you are here because you're much more competent than most people. So you can probably go through the process of filing a claim reasonably well. But many people are not that great at filing insurance claims. They just will file an insurance claim, and the insurance company, of course, will try to deny it, and they will accept the denial. Or the insurance company will say, well, we'll fix 10 shingles, and they say, fine, I'll just get those 10 shingles fixed. Now, that's not great for a roofer. The roofer wants to replace the roof. The roofer wants to do as much as possible. So the roofer is often going to be stuck in the situation where they give a quote, but their prospect doesn't go through the process of getting the insurance claim thoroughly, and either gets denied or gets replaced 10 shingles for a $5,000 job instead of replace the whole roof for a $40,000 job. This is a tool designed to address that. This is a tool where the roofer who comes, who's not an expert at all in insurance, she or he is an expert on roofing, not an expert in insurance. It helps the roofer guide their prospect step by step through every element of filing a claim. Gives them all the guidance, all the advice on how to maximize the likelihood that they will win the battle for full roof replacement. That's the goal of this tool. This is a fine-tuned model. This is a 201 tool. So when you think of 101, just using the chat bot, this is a 201 model, 201 tool. Let's take a look at how it works. So first, this is for Progressive Ohio. Progressive is a large insurance company in Ohio. And this is for that roofing, who's for a roofer, as I mentioned. We built separate. So this was the first tool I built for them as a skeleton. Then they customized it. And then they built their own versions of this tool for 7 other insurance companies. So they didn't need me after they built the initial tool. So just letting you know that this is like a tool, what the structure is. So this is going to be for each individual large insurance company in the state. So what happens? So the roofer goes to the roof or sends a drone and then uploads pictures of the damage. So you see the damage. That's the pictures. Then they get the insurance claim from the homeowner, from the insurance information from the homeowner from the latest renewal package with the bill that the homeowner received, and they upload that.
So the policy.
Policy, yes. The insurance policy, all the information. And then they put in information about, so again, this is still something that the roofer is putting in. This is the user prompt. This is the information the user was putting in.
So this is all the details from how the roof is damaged.
Mm-hmm. That's right, and what they want to
And
accomplish.
a description of how to repair it.
Yes, what they want to accomplish, exactly. Yep. So they say 2-layer tear-off code trigger, generate strategy. Inspection shows 2 layers of shingles. I need a claim plan that leans on collateral hail indicators. Use these photos, build the argument using Ohio residential code and ordinances or law coverage, and so on. So just basic paragraph about what the roofer wants to accomplish.
And this is in language that the insurance company uses.
The language will go later. I'll show you the language. This is language that the roofer uses. This is the roofer expertise. They know what that means, two-layer tear-off code trigger strategy. So very comfortable for any roofer who knows what they don't need any training on this model. So here's what happens. So first, the AI answers that yes, it understands what we're talking about, the address, what codes are used. Here's the links, you can check them out. Then it gives a plain English coverage snapshot. Policy underwriter is Progressive Ohio. Wind hail deductible is 10% of coverage, so 54,000 applies to wind or hail claims. Limited loss settlement pays only a percentage of replacement cost based on age and material, and why it matters. Cosmetic damage, so we must provide direct physical loss beyond appearance and rely on code triggers and collateral. Then crucial statement here is that Ohio's claims law requires reasonably comparable appearance when repair won't match and mandates fair timelines. So it requires that they can't just patch up some shingles if they can't find matching shingles. Kitchen table talking points. So this is all done prior to the conversation with the prospect, with the homeowner. After the roofer has gotten information from the homeowner about their insurance policy and taken the photos, they do that in their car, whatever, put it on their tablet, put it in their laptop, put it in their phone. And this is the kitchen, it guides the roofer through the kitchen table talking points with the homeowner. Kitchen table talking points. We're filing for direct physical loss because your roof has 2 layers. Ohio residential code requires a full tear-off before any new roof work, which is what a roofer wants to hear. They want the 40,000. They don't want the 5,000. We'll prove mismatch using collateral hits, run a brittleness test, and so on. Then the step-by-step claim timeline, which they would give to the homeowner. Submit first notice of loss, and which starts the statutory clock. Upload the inspection packet, document 2 layers of rakes, soft metal hits. If no written acknowledgement, send a reminder. Then submit sworn proof of loss. If no acceptance or denial within 21 days, send formal violation letter, and so on. Next is they're going to talk through with the homeowner about what they can anticipate, because the homeowner likely never did this before, did this like 10 years ago when they had the last hailstorm. So this is the typical claims adjuster efforts to try not to pay your insurance.
It's the insurance company's playbook.
Exactly.
How they defer, delay.
Yep, delay, defer. Yeah, exactly. You read the materials, I think. Exactly right. Yep, delay, defer, deny. Yes, yep. Only cosmetic marring is typical objection, and you evidence to prepare. High-resolution photos of bruised mats, displaced granules, hail spattering caps, and so on. And they talk about that. Then the next one is, we'll repair 10 shingles. You show side-by-side photo with available free tab and show the discontinued confirmation that if they're discontinued, then you can't just replace 10 shingles, because that will not give, according to the Ohio code here, OAC 3901, blah, 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 you have to result in a reasonably comparable appearance. Then no code coverage. You show, photo shows 2 layers, cite local enforcement practices, and so on. And say any legal roof work requires full tear-off, which is great for the roofer. And so we need more time, whatever, all that stuff. Documentation checklist, they provide guidance to the homeowner. So the roofer can't apply on the homeowner's behalf. That would not be legal. They need to give guidance and hold the hand of the homeowner. So documentation checklist for this file, what they will need, give all the details. Then exact talking points. So this is when the claims adjuster for the insurance company comes on site to inspect, this is what they will say. We're proceeding under the policy's promise to pay for direct physical loss. The roof has 2 layers. Ohio code prohibits installation of a 3rd layer. So any legal repair requires full tear-off of the deck, which is great for the roofer. For any carrier proposed spot repair, you require replacement. Carrier is the insurance, by the way. That's the term. Replacement to achieve a reasonably comparable experience. Our side-by-side shows free tab mismatch on color and weathering. We'll need full slope replacement on all slopes within line of sight. So again, negotiating how much repair you'll need. Brittleness demonstration and so on. Client timeline actions we will execute. So this is where the roofer helps the homeowner execute this. Submit first notice of loss within 7 days, day 15, and so on. Escalation paths of denied or short paid, describing that, talking through to the homeowner, and phone capture plan tailored to your images, and so on. And then you can ask it for other things. So you can draft the proof of loss cover letter, our on-site inspection script, which it's starting to do. I'm not going to show it to you. I think you get the idea. So think about this tool. Imagine it adapted to your sales process. Think about if you have any sort of complex sales process. If you have a sales process that's not simple, you're not just doing like $50 or $100. If you're customizing the sales process to your individual clients, this is incredibly helpful. Any sort of tools like this is essentially taking your best salesperson and putting her or him as a mentor behind the shoulder of any of your junior salespeople. So this is incredibly valuable and helpful for any time you want to really upgrade your improvement. And how much more likely is a homeowner going to accept your bid, even if it's 20% higher, when you are actually providing a lot more value to them?
Observation, and this is the one thing with AI, right? Nowhere in that do you talk about soft skills or emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
when you're dealing with an insurance adjuster, they're a person just like you and I, right?
Yep.
So
No.
engaging them on, hey, how are you? How's your family? And I feel like that step is missed, right? How am I so successful? It's because I built genuine relationships with people, right? And when you build genuine relationships, people want to go above and beyond to do shit for you.
Sure, Tony. But this.
So that's what I think is interesting. And the AI is an amazing tool, right? But it's never going to replace this.
That's true. But this, through an extensive process of user acceptance testing, we came up with this outcome as what roofers want to see. If they'd had like a 20% more information about don't forget to say nice things to the homeowner and the claims adjuster, that's not something that roofers want to see. So roofers did not want that. We had to cut this down significantly from what it originally. I'll show you the back end. I'll show you how we constructed
However,
it.
that's what the younger generation is missing. They think it's a
Mm-hmm.
transaction.
Mhm.
It's not a transaction. It's a value-add relationship.
Mhm.
And so unless those things are communicated and taught,
Mhm.
I'm going to be up here in 4 or 5 years teaching relationship skills to the younger generation because they don't understand it.
Sure.
They think everything is TikTok, everything is through text or AI, and there's this human connection.
Mhm.
You know, if you were so effective, we would be on a Zoom call, right? And you wouldn't be standing here in San Diego today,
Sure.
right? But it's this,
Mhm.
and we're missing that. So I love the presentation so far, but that's the observation.
Yeah, that's a fair observation. So what you're talking about would be more of a sales trainer tool. And that's a different conversation to have. And it's a different context. This is something that they need to get accomplished within a very limited amount of time between when they do the inspection, when they talk to the homeowner. And then they need to guide the homeowner. This is an expertise tool rather than a sales trainer tool.
Understand?
But
all
AI,
together, it's a big package, right?
so it would be a separate fine-tuned model. So it's certainly something I can talk to the roofer and try to sell them if they are interested in that.
It's not selling, it's bringing a solution. So
Sure. I understand.
That's where other people get, and I deal with accountants day in, day out, right? And you say selling to them and it scares them. to death,
Yeah.
Right?
I'm kind of joking, right?
Bringing a solution, right?
Mhm.
Realizing there's this blind spot
Mhm.
that, you know, and I picture, you know, my mom needing the roof repaired, right? And yeah, she wants a process, but how you're gonna get through to someone in their 60s or 70s, you know, is not through AI step by step. You know, it's gonna be helpful, but she needs her handhold. She needs the interpersonal skills.
Sure. And that's what the roofers will bring when they're good roofers, right? And separately from this expertise. So this brings something different. This brings their expertise. And this brings a lot more value. So you can have the best roofer who is the most friendly, but if he or she leaves it to your mom to go through the claims process and she drops the ball, not going to happen.
Correct.
And so this is solving a different problem. What you're talking about is a very serious and important problem to be solved. Share with you the case study that I have from them. This is the insurance company. So I don't only work against insurance companies, I also work for insurance companies, just helping whatever clients. Now, when you're thinking about what's happening with an insurance claim, the insurance company gets a claim from you about the roof, tree fell on the roof or something like that. They have to look at the underlying forms. You saw how many bunch of forms there are there in that database. So it's like 70, 80 forms, something like that. So the insurance adjuster has to go and find forms and any endorsements that are in the forms, a couple of endorsements, 2 to 5 per form. They have to read those, they have to interpret those, and interpret, of course, any gray areas in favor of the insurance. So that's the situation that they're facing. That's the job of the claims adjuster, or an important part of their job. This tool is meant to help them address that and cut down greatly the amount of time that they spend on that process. So this is the tool. Step-by-step guidance with citations before the review process. So base insurance form, 2 endorsements. The senior staff who are already somewhat familiar with these forms, pretty familiar, they can take 10 to 15 minutes to go through the process. Find the form, find the endorsements, read them, confirm their impressions. For junior staff, it can take 15 to 20 minutes. For temps, it can take 20 to 30 minutes. And at a rate of about $40 an hour, that's anywhere from $8 to $20 per claim. With hundreds of thousands of claims per year for NCGOA, that's a lot of money. So this is about efficiency. The previous example was about effectiveness, this is about efficiency. How do you improve efficiency? You improve it by saving time. So here's what this looks like. So this is built within Copilot. This is the NCGA Policy Advisor Assistant. I just showed this to you where it was in the Copilot. It lives there. This is shared with everyone in the claims department. Not outside the claims department, just in the claims department. You can choose who to share it with. So what happens? They put in the name of the form, GP001-714. That's the broad form, and then a couple of endorsements on it. And then they just describe what happened. Windstorm caused a tree to fall and damage a roof on the house. It let in rain that damaged furniture worth $15,000. The tree also damaged the boat in the backyard that was in the trailer. Typical claim situation in North Carolina. Okay, so what's happening with the policy advisor assistant? It shows that it understands the policy, this broad form, basic form, endorsement, dwelling property, and then it analyzes what's happening. So it says the coverage for windstorm damage to the dwelling on the roof would be the first one. So here we're going to, the forms say that windstorm is a covered peril if the premium for extended coverage is shown. Okay. If the windstorm directly causes damage to the roof, this is a covered peril under both forms, subject to the policy's terms and conditions, and so on. And so then the damage to the furniture. It applies to direct physical damage caused by covered peril. If rain enters only because the windstorm damaged the roof, the resulting damage to the furniture is covered. Next, coverage for damage to the boat in the backyard. The policy forms do not provide coverage for boats. There is no indication that boats are covered when outside the building. So it understands the difference between the trailer on the boat outside the building in the backyard versus in the garage, in which case it would be covered. Then deductibles and limits, other exclusions, adjusted action items. Confirm that the premium for extended coverage is shown in declarations. If not, not covered. Verify the windstorm directly caused an opening to the roof. Confirm the value and ownership. Verify the ownership and so on. Subrogation. Subrogation means that if this tree was improperly maintained by the neighbor or by the city and it fell on the roof, then the insurance can sue the neighbor or the city to get the claim back. Then open questions, and so this is something that's often especially missed by junior adjusters and temps. So temps are, NCGOA hires temps for hurricane season to staff up. Open questions and citations. And so then you can click on any of the forms if you actually want to read the form and confirm it's accurate. So think about this sort of tool. Think about all of your documents. number of folks here have lots of financial documents, regulatory documents, standardized technical requirements of various sorts. If you have any situation where you need to interpret what's happening against underlying documents, this is a great type of tool. Envision how much time you can save by using this type of tool and how it can enable each person in your organization to be much more productive. Questions about this?
I think it's interesting that you started with roofers who are battling insurance companies. And now you're at an insurance company who
Our battling roofers.
battle the policyholders.
Yep.
And the ultimate solution is not one side taking advantage of the other. The ultimate solution is for both sides to fully understand the contracts and what's covered and what's not.
Well, I think there's a lot of gray areas, and any side will try to favor itself in the gray areas.
Sure.
So I was, Agnes, you might remember this. You remember when we were at Duff's house, and he was sharing the story where his dog walked over the pool deck and left claw marks in the pool deck. Of who?
Cement wasn't set.
Yeah, something like that. And then there happened to be a hailstorm, and the roofer came to inspect it, and he's like, "Whoa, this is like the weirdest hail damage I've ever seen." And they ended up paying for the roof deck, for the hail damage on the roof deck. So, like, you know, this is a situation where there's obviously going to be situations where either you, like zero-sum games, tons of situations in American capitalism, any capitalism, are going to be zero, any life situation are going to be zero-sum games. And if you can gain advantage, like a roofer or an insurance company, in a zero-sum game, then you should. That's part of the American capitalism of the process of creative destruction. And that's how we get innovation and efficiency, and that's okay.
Right, and then the next step after the roofers battle the insurance company and the insurance companies deny or, whatever they do, then the next year's endorsement, if I'm using the right, it gets modified. The
Sure.
words get modified.
Mhm.
Hey, by the way, previous dog prints,
Right.
aren't gonna get covered.
Right, sure. And that's the game, right? That's like where you need to adjust, you'll need to update it with this new insurance coverage language. You need to update your fine-tuned model with the new information that's put in there.
And Dan, your point of view, it's the Vistage companies, we just get an advantage
Yes,
because we get Gleb to come talk to us, right? And so we know just a bit more than everybody else, and our job is to stay one or two steps ahead of everyone, and that's how you prosper.
that's exactly right.
A simple formula.
Yeah, that's like that's the creative destruction. You don't want to be in the destruction part, you want to be in the creative part.
Right, and this adoption is different than internet and apps and iPhones. This adoption is 10 times faster than anything we've ever seen before.
Absolutely.
ChatGPT's acceptance, they went to 1 million users in
Yeah,
a month or something
it
like
was
that.
crazy.
It's insane.
Agreed.
This insurance thing is interesting because I'm going through it right now. All my policies come for renewal in February, and we own a few properties within the family. And so it's dawned on me, like, how can I upload those policies, right?
Mhm.
And I've had the conversation with my broker of, hey, are these, because with the Palisade fires, with these latest things, like, I want to think about this further, right? Not just, pay my $3,000
Sure.
I'm insured, right? But it's almost, and I'm challenging my broker because I obviously pay him or he gets his commission from it, but like,
Yep.
hey, are these the right policies? What else should I know?
Mhm.
Right, but this tool, AI gives me the opportunity
Mhm. Mhm.
to be that checks and balance.
Yeah.
And to actually compare your policy last year and the previous year and tell me what's changed.
Compare these two policy options, not simply the quotes, how much money, but the two policies that are being offered. And then, maybe the quote, the lower quote is giving you crappier coverage, right? And you don't read it because it's so like how many companies didn't realize with COVID that the business interruption did not include actual business interruption. That's only about physical damage or whatever it was. So this is from a retailer. There's about 800 people. It's an HR benefits assistant. So this is designed to save your staff a lot of time by deflecting basic questions about HR benefits. So if you talk to your HR staff, they get a lot of questions that are kind of dumb questions that people can answer through reading the FAQ. But people don't read the FAQ. They instead take the time of the HR staff to get questions answered. So this helps address that concern. You give it to your staff, you give access to everyone on your staff to have it be essentially an internal chatbot for support staff. This applies to any sort of support functionality. This is just for HR. And this is kind of one of the common things I see HR loving, like it's one of the first things they build because it just saves them so much time and not an activity that they enjoy doing. So it links to forms and submission paths, live event step lists and timelines, logs gaps. So this is, let's see. So this is someone who asked about what the details are for this insurance plan. And then key plan features for 2025 to clarify is a high deductible health plan. This is what you need. You need this health savings account to keep your expenses medical tax-free. You have a minimal family deductible. You have a maximum family out-of-pocket cost. Health savings account for family coverage. Goes through each of these steps in depth. Annual contribution limit, company contribution, age catch-up, account ownership. Then explain what an HSA is. So this is a person who doesn't know what an HSA is, health savings account, and they want help explaining that. And so this goes through explaining what it is instead of the HR taking the time to write out or like link to explanations, which this person might not understand. So this explains what it is, high deductible health plan. Based on the plan documents, here are the primary pros and cons. Triple tax advantage, biggest benefit, you own the account, employer contributions, that the retailer will contribute money, cons and key rules, strict eligibility, penalty for non-medical use, record keeping. The person, again, this is just like a new associate, asks, can I use it for my kids or only for myself? Yes, you can use funds in your health savings account to pay for qualified medical expenses for your children as long as they qualify as your tax dependents. Great. So this is someone who gets answers to all of their questions about any questions, any issues that they have with their benefits. They can ask the same questions about family leave. They can ask the questions about vacations. It will provide forms to them if they need to fill out some forms. It can log information about the conversations with HR so that if they have a form and they fill it out and so on. Think about using this for your support team. Any support team. This is just HR. So any support team is likely getting a bunch of questions that can be deflected.
I just had this on our reimbursement. I'm with a big company now and I'm traveling. So it's like, what will they reimburse for an airplane?
Exactly.
Right? It's over 5 hours, domestic, I can do, business economy, right? And get reimbursed for it. Same thing, like when I stay in a hotel in New York, they allow $500 per night. If it's, somewhere else, it's only $350.
Yep.
But it's something like that could be loaded in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. All of that reimbursement, finance, any support staff that can be loaded. So think about this. Your support staff can handle much more higher order tasks, complex tasks, instead of handling this sort of stuff.
This is where the operational duties or jobs of people may be affected. directly by AI, right?
Mhm.
Because even for the AP team, or even like in this case, the HR team or the HR admin, right, that's there to answer questions that now can be answered by.
Yeah.
Right? Where's the payment status on my invoice? What's the
Mhm.
remaining amount of this PO, right? When is this payment gonna go out? All that essentially could be at some point answered by AI. And
Yes.
you will need an actual person to go answer.
Absolutely. This is also not stuff that HR loves doing. Like, this is not stuff that HR wants to do. So we had HR staff who really were enthusiastic about building this tool, and they understood that they would have less work. But they don't, this is dumb work. This is like work they hate. Like when you ask, what do you want to, oh, this is like one of the early things when I ask people, what's the work that you really dislike that you want to automate? This is that work. Like the claims advisors. Yeah, they'll have less work, but it's dumb work. They don't want to go through the form and try to interpret it. That's not like their favorite part of the job. So you want to automate things that people dislike, and people don't want to do that work, and they'll be happy working on it. And again, they're learning skills and building skills in the process of doing this. So we have 2 HR people who are working on this, and they built it, and they were very happy with the fact that they didn't have to answer these questions, and they knew that their jobs were pretty secure because they were the ones who had expertise in AI, and they can build other AI tools.
Yeah, and I look at it from the flip side too, right? Because also, if we say like from the finance perspective, accounts receivable and accounts payable will be automated by AI, right? Routine, repetitive tasks.
Yes.
But then later on in life or another years, a person that grows up in accounting is not going to know the ins and outs of AR. It's not going to
Sure.
learn the ins and outs of AP, three-way matching versus two-way matching.
Sure.
All that foundational accounting knowledge
Mhm.
that I learned, that you learned probably, that we all learned, right, is going to be gone because now it's being done by a system.
But yeah, you don't need to know that. That's the thing. Like, when you have coders who used to know how to build how to program and basic stuff that now is being built not simply by compilers, but is being built by vibe coding. You don't need to know how to program like those details if you can vibe code and you get the same outcomes. So it's kind of like, do you need to know long division? I mean, it's nice if you know long division, but you're not going to be hurt in any way if you don't know long division. You're going to be stuck on a desert island without a calculator. What's the likelihood of that scenario?
No, I agree. I mean, accounts payable is accounts payable, right?
Mhm.
Well, you need to know the key accounts for received not invoiced. Man, no, you don't really need to know them. Does it help to know, how things flow through the system, the ERP system? Yes.
Sure.
But now that fundamental knowledge may
But you
not.
can also ask AI how it flows through it.
I would say, back in the 60s, right, there was the green book, right, and everything was done with pencil. It's like, well, you don't need to fucking know that anymore, right? Like ERP. So it's just the evolution, right? Yeah, it's, and I think that's why school is important, right? And fundamental. But could they spend one class on that, 3 hours instead of, I mean, my accounting course, that first one was all about key accounts, right? Good to know, but not required.
It's the evolution of the profession.
Yep.
It's as if it's almost like we don't have a choice. When calculators came out, the math teachers were horrified.
Yes.
That we wouldn't know how to, and in fact, I imagine I know my multiplication tables better than my children do, but it doesn't matter. And every, in our, the technology, the internet, the email, all of that, we're losing touch with, what did you call three-level?
Three-way match and two-way match.
Right.
It's
So-
fundamentals of.
So we're losing touch with that. But if we don't lose touch with that, we're gonna fall behind because there's another company who doesn't care. And they're gonna go twice as fast as you. So you've gotta give it up. The problem, of course, is when the electricity goes off, we're farther away from understanding how to grow food.
Sure.
And how to make clothes from cotton. But if we don't, we're gone.
Yep.
So we're forced into this, and you might as well enjoy it.
Yep. And just hope that the electricity doesn't go off.
And what's that? And hope the electricity doesn't go off.
Because, even without AI, if electricity goes off, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Just reality. Other questions about this tool?
For a tool like this,
Yes.
do you create I'll say Gem because I use Gemini.
Sure.
Do you create that, share it, and then put a link to it like on an intranet system? Is that how it was actually implemented, or you just have it directly in Gemini and the employees know?
Directly in
this is where you have to go, where you-
Directly in Gemini. Yeah, I mean, you need to educate employees about where to go. But as you saw with the M365 Copilot, that would be just one of the options that they can go to. There's researcher, there's analyst, there's HR benefits assistant.
Gotcha.
And you just train it on your company data, all the stuff, and then just give it the instructions on how to do it. So this is all like 201. All the free examples I showed so far are 201 kind of tools.
One thing I would like to understand is that information keeps on changing, information evolves,
Mhm.
rules change.
Yep.
Policies change.
Sure.
Right? How can we keep a private model to be updated with the latest things going on in the world? For example,
Mhm.
in this example for the HR stuff, the HSL limit this year is different. It will change next year.
Of course.
Okay. Maybe the administration that comes in the future might take away the triple tax benefit.
So I showed you the policies, and that's a great example for the insurance policy because they get updated by different years. You just replace the policy. You just go and you say, instead of this PDF with the DP00 10714, here's a new updated version from 2026.
Yeah, but I don't want it that way. I want to be dynamic, the model to be private for information that is private, and at the same time dynamic enough to understand what is going in the real world.
So,
Combining the two.
okay, so you can choose whether or not it searches the internet, but then it will not have the benefit of retrieval augmented generation.
Okay.
So retrieval augmented generation means it references the data that you put in, and it relies on that data first.
Okay.
And so you can't just automate the process of updating the knowledge base. You need to deliberately decide that, hey,
To update.
exactly.
Okay.
Yep. So it's part of the maintenance of these models, of these fine-tuned models. When the world changes, you want to change the information. So this is an automatic invoice creator tool. Now the difference between the fine-tuned model is intelligence. So you're customizing it based on your intelligence. When the next step is at 301 would be in something we can call it an AI agent. Probably heard the term AI agents. So AI agents are tools that not only have intelligence, but they also have certain goals and take actions in the outside world. They can pursue these actions, goals and actions. So you add automation to intelligence. That would be like a 301 tool. And this is an example of that. This automatically creates invoices. It uses data from timesheets. It integrates with your invoicing software. So previously, this was for a law firm. Creating invoices the old way. What did they do? They kept their information manually in a timesheet. So all the lawyers kept that information manually in a timesheet. Then the details were transferred to a Google Doc. And that was, then they created a Stripe invoice, Stripe financial software, processing software, and then they linked the Google Doc to the Stripe invoice memo section. So that was the old process. They wanted minimal disruption, so we replaced the old process by a AI automation process. So combining intelligence with automation. The AI agent receives and analyzes data, organizes it, creates a Google Doc, creates an invoice. Minimal disruption for lawyers. They just, instead of their previous process, they just copy-paste the information into this chat. So this is the invoice assistant, and this is what they copy. So this is just from the file, the top part, information about the client, email, hours worked, rate, fixed fee. This is all standard that they have it in the file. And then information on the timesheet. So the date, description, hours, what they worked. You could see this. Well, if you get an invoice from your lawyer, this is going to be what it looks like. That's what they put in. What does the tool do? So confirms the details and computes the invoice, makes sure everything is appropriate, so you can check that, make sure the model gets everything right. Then it goes on to create the Google Doc. So it's using a tool called Zapier. Zapier is one kind of tool that can connect web programs to another. So there's what's called an API, Application Programming Interface, which Mark told me has been around for 30 to 40 years. It's an old tool that just connects one web program to another. In this case, it connects the OpenAI ChatGPT to the Google Docs through the Zapier, which basically automates the process of connecting these two. And so that's just a tool. Now, there's a more modern tool called an MCP, Model Context Protocol, which is built on top of APIs. That helps agents. It enables them to more effectively integrate and work with an API. So the more modern tools like Salesforce and Google Docs have an MCP on top of an API. Not all companies have an MCP on top of an API, especially older school ones and ones that are more of a walled garden. So just kind of for those folks who are thinking about 301, MCP is Model Context Protocol. All right, so creating a Google Doc with full invoice details. So here's the Google Doc invoice. There's the link that it created. You can take a look at it. Then here's the invoice details. And then it's looking for the Stripe, looking up or creating the Stripe customer. So it's talking to Action Zapier, Stripe invoice created. Then that's the Stripe invoice draft. So it's not automatically sending at this stage. It's creating a draft which the accounting staff can review and then send. And here is when it's sent, what it looks like. So it's sent. This is an email to the client, invoice from Asked Physician Contracts with the memo. You could see there's the name, all the money, and the Google Doc link to the actual invoice. Now, this is the owner of the law firm, and she'll share about the experience of using this tool.
I'm Emily Ash, a lawyer and owner of my own law practice. Over the last several months, Dr. Gleb has been instrumental in creating custom AI solutions for many of my administrative tasks that I currently do as part of my business. He is extremely knowledgeable in all things AI and other automation technologies, and programmed custom AI agents to do the heavy lifting for me on items like data tracking analysis, workflow, and invoicing. He took me step by step through the programming and how it works behind the scenes so I can better understand how to adjust this in the future and to use the resources. Through Dr. Gleb's great work, I'm going to save so much time in the future, and I'm really grateful to Dr. Gleb and would highly recommend working with him for all AI and other technology solutions.
So this is an example of efficiency, obviously. Makes things much more efficient. How much time do your people spend creating documents right now? Whether it's invoices, whether it's compliance reports, sales meeting prep documents, requests for proposals, filling all of those out, pitch decks. How much time do they spend on that? And how much time do they spend on connecting one tool to another and clicking from one tool to another that they don't have to? So think about how much more efficient your people can be if they had tools like this, like a 301 tool that combined intelligence with automation. An AI agent that actually pursued goals and activities in the real world. So, questions about this type of tool?
Did you create that one as a GPT? Is that kind of what the
Yeah.
base of it is?
Yes, so it's a GPT. I'm not signed into her GPT, but I'll show you how to create it in the back end. I'm not signed into the law firm, so I can't show that specific tool. But here would be where you would go into this, but you would go into the actions. And here is where you added create new action, and you would authenticate it for an API key, and that connects you to Zapier or anything else that you're going to use. And then you put in the schema, which is you're going to get that from your tool that you're connecting it to. Questions about this?
And the only thing I mean, for PSEMI, you know, and Craig understands this a lot better than I, but we're a fully integrated ERP system, right?
Mhm.
So essentially, we have all the sub-ledgers that connect to the finance piece and even the other operations piece of the company. But there are items that still, you know, we don't act like a 2026 company by still emailing approvals, right? By doing things via a person's email, hey, can you please approve this, or can you, you know, I have a request right now that I want to create a GL and department request form, right? As opposed to doing it via email, right?
Mhm.
And I would like to do it like SharePoint forms where it goes through automatic, you know, automated
Sure.
workflows, right? And I know it's something that we've had issues in the past at P70. And so I'm trying to bring these ideas out
Mhm.
to try to use something like this,
Yeah.
right? But overall, I think in this example, you know, we also have affiliates that are very small that have systems like QuickBooks. They use QuickBooks and they use, let's say, another tool for payments and another tool for expense reports. And then this is where they can find a lot of usefulness in using this type of, you know, AI software to help them bridge all these gaps that they have.
Absolutely. And this is going to be much, much cheaper than using something like an ERP solution that costs thousands and many thousands of dollars. Like this was built for the law firm and it did not cost them nearly that much.
And many times, you know, QuickBooks Online talks to people about that, talks to them, talks to the expense provider, I think. So it's just the glue, bringing it together. And that, you mentioned, you know, over the next year, I mean, just imagine if you could solicit solutions for all those smaller companies. You know, I mean, just think how many hours they would save.
Yeah, they're trying to do that right now. So right now they're trying to, they've created this entity where they're trying to have a shared services for the smaller entities that don't have an AP department, an AR department, to help them, you know, be able to create a solution, right, for the smaller affiliates. And this, you know, would definitely help.
I think from what you're saying, let me show another example. This is going to be a little bit more of a 401. This is going outside of the fine-tuned model example. So let me share an example of a marketing tool. So this is an example I built for my own firm, and the reason I wouldn't be comfortable showing this elsewhere is because of, you know, this is information that's publicly available, but if this was one of my clients, they wouldn't be publicly available. So I give a lot of talks for associations, and associations always want speakers, so they have people listed on their websites as the speaker contacts. So if a speaker wants to contact them to pitch them on a talk, they would have this association giving their email and so on, giving their information. And so this is a tool that's designed to look at the association websites, get the information from the association website about who is listed as the speaker contact person. And that's pretty simple to do. The more complex part is the intelligence, and that's what I'll focus on. I'm not going to focus on the basic scraping, web scraping.
Doesn't take too much time.
So questions about this tool before I show the back end of it? Okay. So this, again, is a 401 level. It's not it's not built within a ChatGPT backend. It's not built within a Gemini backend. So this is a tool called na10.io. This is a more complex power user version of something like Zapier, which connects one API plus MCP to another. So it's a user-friendly way of creating connections between various web programs. That's na10.io. And here is what this tool looks like. So it's a visual building block where you put a number of actions together, and the tool enables the taking of these actions. If that's what it's about. So here is how the tool works. You get a venue trigger, Google Sheets trigger account, that polls it every minute, checks every minute whether a row has been added or updated. And what it's looking for is this initial information. Like I said, I have a separate web scraper that gets this initial information. Then I put this initial information into, and I put this as ready, the status is ready. So put this initial information and change the status to ready. Then it's going to trigger and start taking actions. The gatekeeper will check if it's ready. Then if I put in 5 items, 5 names, it will loop over each name and conduct 2 activities. One is doing research. So you can use Brave or Bing or Google to do research. I use Brave because it's cheaper. It's $3 for 1,000 searches. But Google will be a little bit more expensive, which is fine. I don't need something that's as fancy. And so what it will do is look at affiliation, city, first name, last name, website, LinkedIn, and then the mission, strategic plan, news update 2025-2026. So imagine all of that information being booked into a Google search. Then comes up with an excerpt of about 150 to 200 words based on this information, based on the search. So this is this functionality. Questions about this?
Are you having to put in this value, or is this already generated?
So it's already generated from the information that I put in here. So all I put in is this information.
I'm assuming for the triggers, you could just run this
Anytime.
weekly on Mondays
Yeah.
at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, you can do this, change the venue trigger to everything. The next part is the intelligence part. So this is the connecting to Anthropic Claude, as I mentioned before. I prefer using Anthropic because it's the better in terms of quality. Talked about this before. So API, you get the API key from Anthropic. And then this is the part that's more costly. So I say maximum tokens, 1,500, because I don't want to pay too much for it. It's, you can customize the whole email. It'll cost you something like maybe 20 cents instead of 5 cents. But for me, it's fine to have just the email subject and the icebreaker. So here's the system prompt. So you could see system. You're a strategic communication expert. Your job is to write a 5 email outreach sequence and 1 LinkedIn pitch. So critical input is organization, city, name, research from Brave, the previous step, all this information. Then I'm giving it some forbidden phrases. Don't say radio silence, you must be busy, just checking in, bumping this, and so on, like BS phrases. Dive straight into a specific observation from the research. So the person knows that they have been researched, that it's personalized to them, the content will be customized to them. Every subject line needs to be about hi name, given qualitative local goal for the organization. Let's show members, for example, let's show members how to stop renting generic and start owning cost-effective staff-built solutions, as an example. So giving it some examples. Bridge their local mission to the AI presentation. Reference a different specific detail from the research to repitch the AI tool for each individual email. So not repeat the same research information in each email, give different ones, and so on. And mandatory referral subjects include the organization name, research point, and so on. So this is just the system prompt. You're already familiar with this idea. And same idea, just giving some examples for each one. Questions about this step?
Is this a JSON script or what kind of script is this?
So this is not a scraper. So the scraper was the,
Script language.
oh, yeah, JSON. Yes, yep, JSON script. Sorry. Misheard you. Yes, and you use AI, as always, you use AI to help you build this, to help you create the JSON script. So N8N is more complex than Zapier, and one of the complexities is that it requires you to use JSON script. And AI can definitely, I used AI to come up with the initial version, then I tweaked it. And the last step is update the sheet. So it just takes all the information from the previous information with email subject 1, icebreaker, LinkedIn page, and so on, and puts it back into the Google Sheet. Now, when insurance, also NCGA, so when an insurance company gets information from their, from claims, from a homeowner or a contractor, they get a bunch of documents. They get receipts, they get insurance adjuster reports, they get all of this stuff like roofer information, a bunch of different forms. Something like about 20 different types of forms. So they're all uploaded into the claim file as generic. An insurance adjuster, claims adjuster, needs to go into each one, see what type of document it is, and rename it into the appropriate document. That takes them about 10 minutes per file. And so that's something like about $10 per with their salary. And so that's quite a bit of money per claim. So this was the situation. 15 to 20 docs per claim file equals 5 to 20 minutes. Now, any emails are forwarded to an internal inbox that starts up an automation to split each attachment into a single unit and classify them appropriately using Power Automate with 2 types of AI, and I'll talk through them. Sends 1 email per document category for automatic upload with the claim number, document type, sent to category inbox address that puts it into the claim file. So here's an example. So this is a file that's sent. You could see the file delivery. So this is the automatic, just all the automation. The claim number, file delivery, giving police report, and the type, police report, no findings. File classification is complete. It gives the information about the file. It gives the cost of the classification for this one, which was for there are 2 types of AI. So let me talk through those 2 types of AI. One is the optical character recognition. That's the OCR. And so here, this cost 0.15 cents to do the optical character recognition on the police report. So it extracts the text from the police report. And then there's the classifier model that's been trained on previous police reports. So it knows what kind of algorithm looks like a police report, what kind of document looks like a police report, and all the other types of reports. And this costs 0.5 cents for this document. And so here's another one. This is an estimate. And this is just the batch ID attachment manifest. So the OCR for this one, it was longer, so it costs more. It's 4 pages instead of 1 page, costs 6 cents. Or I'm sorry, 0.6 cents. So thinking about this type, when you can classify documents automatically, and internal, external files, invoices, customer requests, this is the kind of automation that we're talking about, using Power Automate. It's saving them a ton of time and thus money on the claims files. Tons of automation you can do. Any questions about this tool?
This is Microsoft.
Yep, this is all Microsoft. Yep, using Power Automate and their AI tool that's part of Power Automate.
I'm thinking about this from we're going into tax season, right? And 2 things. Yes, my firm does taxes, but I also have to do my own taxes.
Yeah.
It's
painful, right?
Sure.
And there's a portal and you have to upload your documents, right? Your W-2s, your 1099s, all this stuff, right? And I take a picture of it and then upload it. Could I create some type of AI automated process, right, with the portal that my tax provider is providing me?
Mhm.
Right, and be able to create a process to, as I upload, it takes I guess the process, the trouble I get into, it doesn't accept, like the portal's not as sophisticated, or maybe I'm stupid, right? So when I'm trying to upload my documents to this portal, it's not working.
Mm.
And so how can
Yeah,
I
probably-
layer a piece of AI in there to facilitate?
So that would be a coding project where you would want to connect that portal, like whatever you're doing, to the portal. And so I can't speak for the portal, but that would be something probably coding, because they probably would not give you the API access to it. So you would need API access to the portal. Otherwise, you just use something like coding to automatically move things on your computer.
I mean, it's to the point where, like, I want to just go drop off the shoebox, right? Because it takes me, and then they say, I didn't get it. And it's like, I uploaded it 3 times,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how do you put a system in place?
That's very frustrating. They're not using the best software, clearly. Your tax. It's not you, exactly.
It's not you.
Yeah, they're not using the best software.
Yeah.
You want to think about training your employees, empowering them to use AI, and then encouraging them to use it, just like you would for Excel or Photoshop or something else. So here's an example from one of my clients, Kratos Industries. It's a 100-ish people manufacturing company, provides components for data centers. And this is an email from Nick Corner, the director of engineering. And so I gave them some training and delivered the first, we did was did a half-day training session and then coached them on building their own tools, these fine-tuned models and these AI agents, and then help them build the skeleton of the first AI agent that they built. Then they were able to do this stuff on their own. So here's an email, I'm checking in with them 2 months later, and he says, hey, Dr. Gleb, things are going pretty well so far. We've been able to make some progress and are feeling like we can mostly fly on our own. Thanks for getting us in the air. So that's how you want to think about AI tools. You want to think about how can you use no-code, low-code tools yourself and get some expertise on it. Don't have to hire me. You can get some sweat equity and just learn it by yourself, go on the internet, whatever, all this time, Power Automate and so on. You can learn these tools yourself. You can hire me, I'll just accelerate the process. So but you don't need to rely on me. And the key is that you don't want to rely on anyone. My business model is to make myself expendable by training people and then letting them do their own thing. And so this is the kind of approach that you want to be thinking about. How can you get yourself into the air most effectively and get your employees into the air most effectively and then empower them to innovate